I'm glad everyone's joining so far. Here, and I can see that you got your camera on. How you doing, man? How's it going so far?
Pretty good. And you?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. How's your week going? Are you looking forward to anything on the weekend?
Halloween, right?
Yeah. What have we got planned? Hopefully,
Nothing much. Just handing out candy and stuff.
okay, nice.
Yeah.
And how's your journey going so far here at KMAC?
Good. It's decent.
Yeah, who's your coach?
George?
Joe GP.
Yeah.
Gratitude. Love it. Gratitude.
Yeah.
Nah, nice to hear, man. I'm glad that your journey's going so far so good. Tell me a few goals that you got coming up.
Nothing. Just cutting weight. That's about it, really.
Nice.
Yeah.
The usual.
It's colder now here, so getting in steps is a little bit more tougher.
We've got exactly the same over here. We're just talking about how dark it's getting already as well.
Yeah. So like going out at like 6 isn't feasible, so I'll probably do some steps here in the afternoon now.
Yeah, perfect. Sounds like you got a good plan already.
Yeah.
How long have you been with KMAC for?
Probably like 3 months. August.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
and so
yeah,
far so good.
yeah. So far, so good.
Beautiful. That's all I like to hear, man. Really, really good stuff. But hearing it's nice to meet you, man.
Yeah, you too. Hopefully, we get to meet in person one day.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Definitely. Whereabouts are you based?
Atlanta.
Atlanta. Oh,
Yeah. Y'all came a few years ago, I think, like I don't remember, 2019 maybe.
yeah, I think doing a few times in a row, right?
I don't think any of us were there though.
Maybe. Yeah.
But came back full stop. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Nah, good to hear, man. Hopefully one day we'll be back and we'll make sure that you're gonna be there, maybe even
Yeah,
doing a
for
picture
sure.
as well.
Yeah.
Good to hear. But if anyone else wants to turn their camera on, it would be amazing to speak about your journey as well. You might have to tell me your name and just say iPhone.
It's Viraj.
Oh, Aviraj, nice to meet you, Aviraj. How you doing?
Good, thanks.
Yeah, how's your week going so far?
It's good. Yeah.
Doing and your
So
journey at KMAC, how's
it's
it going?
good. I started January, so it's been over 9 months. My coach is GP. Sam actually coaches my husband. So we're doing it together. We're doing the photo shoot in March.
Oh,
So we're excited, and we've had an amazing journey. I kind of I told my husband I'm kind of came back for life now. But yeah, it's been life changing for us. Yeah.
no, beautiful. You excited for your photo shoot in March?
Yeah, we're excited, a little nervous.
Yeah, don't be nervous. I'm sure it's going to be all of
Yeah,
It's gonna be an elite shoot for sure.
yeah, we're excited. I had to convince him to do it. I told him it
Yeah,
was
he said
either
he said
I told him it was either us together or nobody. So kind of forced him into it, but he'll be okay.
no, I'm
I think
glad you
he's more
convinced
nervous about the tanning part than anything else.
him.
no.
But yeah, we're excited.
Good. I'm sure it's gonna be amazing. You'll definitely see us guys there cheering you guys on as well. So I'm
Yeah,
looking
we're
forward
in
to
Houston, so we'll drive up. It's
oh
pretty close
beautiful.
to us. Yeah.
Yeah. Looking forward to see you in person.
Yeah, same.
Great.
Thanks.
And Nayan, how you doing, man? Hope you're doing okay.
Doing good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Are you in your lunch break right now?
Something like that. It's 10 a.m. here, and I had a
Oh,
break in between meetings, so I thought I'd hop on and just listen in while I could.
beautiful. You've done the best thing already, jumping on this call. Hopefully you're gonna learn quite a lot as well. How's your journey going so far, K-Mac?
Phenomenal. What, 9 months in now or so, and dropped about 55 some odd pounds, and just renewed for another 12 months earlier this week. So
Who, who,
similar
who-
vein, feeling like a K-Mac for life for now kind of thing. So
55 pounds in 9 months. Who's your coach? I might need the same coach.
D is my coach here.
That's why he's smiling so much. Beautiful. Beautiful. Well, now it seems like things are going amazing, man, as well. So, whereabouts are you based?
I'm here in Phoenix, Arizona.
Oh, nice. And beautiful. So, hopefully, we'll get to see you in person one day as well, man.
Yeah,
Nah,
for
nice.
sure.
I'm glad you joined on. Hopefully, you get a lot of information from here today as well. Nitin, how are you doing? Hope you're good. Can see you getting your steps in at the same time. Beautiful.
Might as well I can here. Been feeling a little weighted vest on here lately too to maximize it even a little bit more.
Nice. You're showing us how to do it, man. I feel like we should
Mhm.
all be on a walking pad right now.
Barton keeps me in check, so trying to make him proud.
Nice. You got P-Dog.
Yeah,
How's your journey going so far?
been amazing. I can't ask for a better coach, you'd say. I've only dealt with him. I'm sure all you guys are just as good too, but he keeps me on point all the time.
Nice. I can see. That's why we're on the walking pad right now. He must be doing a good job. Nice to meet
Yeah,
you, man. So, whereabouts are you based?
I'm in Houston.
Oh, nice. Are we going to be seeing you as well in March?
Yep, me and my wife actually booked a couple's photo shoot, so I'm
Nice.
getting psyched for that for sure.
Beautiful. Excited for it. I think we're going to be excited to see you in person as well. So, make sure to bring your weighted vest as well. We don't want to leave that at home.
Will do, will do.
Thanks. And Hayter, how are you doing? Hope you're good.
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I'm very, very well, thank you. How's your day going so far?
Good. Just finished my workout, so feeling really refreshed and good.
Nice. And who's your coach?
Coach Gabby.
Hey.
My girl, how we doing, Hannah?
Good. How are you?
Good. Glad to hear you got our workout in. I know that we would
Yes,
regardless, but good to see your
of
face.
course. Likewise.
Nice. It's nice to see you on. Hopefully, you guys can be joined every single week, giving you guys a lot of information to go into your journey with. And even question of the day, guys. This week it was, what does transformation mean to you? If you haven't voted yet, here's a link for the Facebook as well. Have a click on it. Go give it a vote. See which one obviously relates to you even more. If you got something unique, definitely just put it in the comment section on Facebook as well. But yeah, it's good to see all you guys. And then I'll let D talk a little bit more as well now.
All right, we'll start. Okay, so we're going to go into Halloween related stuff and how to manage things. Sorry, Sam, are you giggling about my introduction?
Yeah,
I was caught off guard. Give me a second. All right, guys. So
Sorry.
this is there's only like a last couple of days on our unique referral scheme where if you refer an individual onto us over the next like 2 or 3 days or so, you'll receive a free full month of coaching and the individual you refer on. So if you do want to share this on your Instagram, it will be greatly appreciated as always. And as you said, it's kind of a win-win for everybody if you can pass our names on to as many people as possible. We'd really, really appreciate it. So when it comes to like managing the Halloween period, it's going to be very, very different for each individual, depending on the expectations you set for yourself going in. Like I know some individuals are going to set the expectation of like, look, I'm actually just not going to have like any sweets or anything like that. I'm in a good flow. I'm in a good routine with things and I'm just going to continue to crack on. I'm happy with the rate in which I'm progressing and I don't really want to get in the way of that. But then there's going to be other individuals who are like, no, actually, do you know what? I want to give myself a little more flexibility. There's a couple of days out of the year that I want to be able to just like enjoy myself without focusing on calories. And we're going to try like touch on both points there and try find a degree of like a middle ground. Sam, when it comes to like just like Halloween management, what are the kind of overarching things that you're thinking about?
Yeah, I think the biggest one, to be honest, is the sudden change, I would say, in just environmental control in that respect. A lot of the time it's not even candy that's kind of targeted at you as adults. It's more targeted towards your kids, I would imagine, from trick or treating and things like that. I'm sure some of you probably do get gifted candy yourself, but I think it is that just sudden influx of a huge amount of things that maybe we've been craving for a little bit, things that maybe we've not necessarily indulged in a little bit. And then it's how do we actually maintain that degree of control when all of that access is suddenly present, right? It may be that we've actually crafted a really, really success inducing environment for ourselves at home. And then suddenly all these options that we've not had for a while are there again. So what I would personally look at is preempt that and say, okay, I kind of know the likelihood is a lot of these things are going to come in, and then try and set a little bit of a boundary. Now that can be in a whole host of different ways. I'd be interested to hear as we actually discuss, if people throw in the chat kind of what boundaries actually feel like they could work for them if they feel it's needed. But yeah, there's a few different ways you could go about that. It could be a kind of mental boundary in the sense that if we find ourselves walking around quite a lot and just picking at a bowl, something like that, you could say, oh no, okay, I actually want to have some degree of awareness when I'm eating this candy, and I'm going to force myself potentially to sit at the dining table if I'm going to have any, right? Or something like that, as a pure example that forces you to have a little bit more mindfulness. It may be you actually say, okay, a lot of these things, I'm going to put them out of sight, out of mind, rather than in a bowl on the side, right? And that's just a couple of examples of boundaries that we could set. Is there any things that kind of crop up for you as well in terms of actually setting, whether that be a physical or more of a kind of mindset boundary?
Yeah, so I think like one thing that I would do is I kind of limit. It's kind of a tricky thing to do, but we're even thinking like ourselves when people come like trick or treating, trying to like know how much you're going to need based on like previous years. Because if you've bought twice the amount of what's absolutely necessary, and then it's just kind of floating around in the house, that's a recipe for overconsumption. Same again with like the kids bringing things home as well. If you've got like a couple of kilograms worth of sweets, and it is that environment where you will just kind of passively overconsume. So if you can allow yourself to have some, but just factor it into your calories. So like a nice way of doing it is like, okay, look, like I've got my snack calories. My snack calories are 300 calories. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give myself 300 calories worth of sweets and stuff like that. Yes, the meal is going to be less in protein and less in fiber and things like that, but it gives you that degree of like, okay, I can factor this in and still be in a deficit for that day. Okay. So I definitely be just making some modifications and even thinking going into it, if you do want to incorporate in like a couple of sweets and things like that, factor it in, swap out your snack meal for some sweets. Maybe it is what the case as well, that you remove some calories from lunch and you remove some calories from breakfast to allow yourself to have a little touch more. One of the things that when you do that, you're going to have to accept the fact that you're going to be a little touch hungrier and that the cravings are going to amplify the more that you consume. Okay. So like the way we recommend people eating in this kind of like these big voluminous meals, like that's what allows us to be satiated. When we have foods that are calorie dense and low in volume, we tend to overconsume them. So if you want to incorporate in more of these calorie dense things, then essentially you just have to accept the fact that you're going to be a little bit hungry, and you have to like muster up a little bit more willpower in order to adhere. Ajay, is there anything in particular that comes to mind for you?
For me, Sam touched on the point of kind of out of sight, out of mind. So particularly, obviously, if you're choosing trick or treating with your kids, maybe having a couple of selections that you like to indulge in, so you get a bit of that satisfaction and that taste that you are craving. But again, it doesn't become overindulging. We want to then think of how you could remove those so that they're not on your mind all of the time. If they're in a particular place where you know they are, then more than likely you're going to go and reach for those things in the future. So thinking of choosing the candy that you like, keeping that aside, and really sitting down, like Sam said, enjoying it, taking your time, take that mindful approach. Don't just consume it super quickly, because before you know it, you haven't even thought about what you've eaten and consumed. And then the rest of that can go away, whether it goes to somebody else or charity even, but essentially it's a way out of the house, and then you move forward from there, going to the next day to normal.
Yeah. Felicia actually messaged me, give me like a nice thing that could be potentially helpful her clients were speaking about. Instead of giving away sweets, what they're going to do is they're going to do Pokemon cards, because the kids in the area are obsessed with them at the moment. And like a little swap like that could be a nice little thing that you could add in, and the kids may more than likely appreciate it a little touch more as well, because there's going to be enough like candy going around essentially.
When I was a kid, I definitely would have appreciated some Pokemon cards. I can't lie.
You seem like that kind of guy, to be fair.
Yeah. Thanks. But I think as well, typically on these calls, we give kind of like a very broad overview of tips. And I think what could actually be useful to make sure that a lot of people gain good value from this is also, as we're going through, just put in the chat if you have in the past struggled with maybe overeating, maybe recently in Diwali, Halloween last year, or anything like that. What typically actually triggers that for you? Is that the environmental things that we're discussing? Is that circulating around your kitchen and seeing these things? What personally kind of triggers that for you? Because then we can dive in a little bit more specifically as well, and more specifically kind of help you out with that.
Yeah. And I think this applies irrespective of Halloween as well. It's just this degree of like awareness and mindfulness of the things that we consume. Like when I'm not cognizant of my nutrition, I can just graze through calories for days. I can just graze and graze and graze. And if I was to do a recall of one of them days, I'd probably be off by about 50% on the calories. I definitely have a degree of inaccuracy in there. So if you can have like a bit of an action plan going in, like these are the three things I'm going to like do as I go into Halloween tomorrow. I'm going to make sure that I have like big, voluminous, fibrous meals. I'm going to reduce some calories from my snack to allow myself to have a couple of sweets. And as a function of you just having a plan there yourself, you've got something to resort back to follow. And I think even like putting together a little bit of an action plan going into tomorrow will be helpful there as well. Gabby, anything else in particular that pops up for you?
I think that, sometimes when we have a sweet or two, like you said, so easy to graze, especially when we get the little mini ones, right? You think, okay, harmless, right? Pop one in your mouth and it's just like, okay, well, it's tiny. But, you keep popping them in your mouth and then that adds up and adds up and adds up. And before we know it, okay, we're out of a calorie deficit. We're actually out of maintenance now. But something that like is another option, what you could do. I mean, we all love a Greek yogurt bowl here. We love a yogurt bowl, put some protein powder in that yogurt bowl, put some stevia or something in there, take a piece of candy or two, factor that into the calories. If we want some more volume, chop it up, put it on top of the Greek yogurt bowl, boom, dessert right there. You have that volume and you're also kind of satisfying that craving too. So, it's like what Dee just said about coming up with an action plan and just, knowing, what are your triggers as well. So maybe having one sweet is something that kind of just gets that, going and you're like, okay, now I want to have more and more. So if volume is something for you, then, that's an option as well. So
I think that's actually like a great shout that pretty much everybody can do going into tomorrow. Take the hyperpalatable stuff that you want and have it or just pair it with a meal. If you go the entire day without eating because you've been busy, like you're going to find yourself in that position where like I'm absolutely starving and everything around me is delicious. That's like, it's just recipe for, I'm going to sit down and pummel through 2,000 calories easy.
Something I will say till I'm blue in the face as well is make sure you are hydrated. Drink enough water because a lot of the times when we're hungry or we're kind of having those cravings, we're actually dehydrated. And also helps just flush the system. So make sure we're hydrated going into the weekend as well.
I've actually had a couple of things come through already as well. So, one of those is not necessarily on the point of foods coming into the house from Halloween from external people, but foods coming into the house that they've actually bought with the intention of giving away and finding it hard not to lean into those things. So I'd be interested to hear some other approaches on this, but my first initial thought would be actually when you're buying sweets to give away, don't buy the ones that you want to eat. Very, very simply. Now, it's not always that easy, but if they are with the best intentions to give to other people, is that something you need to think is the nicest thing in the world? Maybe not.
Yeah, that was my point.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I
was like, oh, I have a good one here.
I'll let you take this one. So last year there was a scarcity around sweets because it didn't really feel like there was many being incorporated throughout the journey. So having them kind of readily accessible, even though they were out of reach, out of mind, made it a little bit more difficult not to go ahead and indulge. What would you say in that scenario?
So it was the scarcity and the lack of being able to incorporate them in that drove the want to incorporate them in. Am I
So yeah, the scarcity of not really having them throughout the journey, and then suddenly having them all in the house, even though we knew they weren't really out of sight, they were still kind of maybe in the back of our mind.
Yeah, so I think it's really important that we do develop the skill of allowing ourselves to have like kind of crappy food along the way. Like it's okay to be able to have these things. You can still incorporate them into a deficit. It's when we really overconsume them that it's the issue. Because if you, let's say you were to put together your usual meal template that puts you into a deficit, it's more than likely it has like 500 grams of veg, like 2 or 3 servings of fruit in it. You're going to get in your 120 or whatever it is grams of protein, plenty of fiber, like really, really voluminous, like foods that put you into a deficit. As a function of doing that, you're going to be nice and satiated. So if you can keep that structure in place and then you go and you overconsume, you're probably going to only overconsume like 400 or 500 calories. Just pulled you back to maintenance for a day, which is not the end of the world. So you want to, like, the advice I give to individuals here is going to be very specific on them and how I know they manage social events, whether that is like over restricting calories throughout the day so you can incorporate it in, or maybe you just need to follow everything as normal so you're more satiated. And then when you do overconsume, you overconsume to a lesser extent.
So we've also had I think it's quite an interesting follow-up to that exact point as well. So also I eat away from my kids so they don't ask for the candy. And I eat it quickly so I can then go ahead and get back to them. I like the call out for eating it at the table. If I knew to eat it openly, I likely will eat less because I don't want to hand out as many pieces of candy to the kids as well. So yeah, I think, to be honest, in that note, you've got like quite a lot of significant awareness around the behavior in itself, which is always the first part to kind of changing the behavior as well. And if you know that maybe it's not the most beneficial thing for your kids to be over consuming, then you know that it's maybe also not the best thing for you. So if you can do that a little bit more openly, and just kind of be happy to say, okay, you know what, we're all going to sit down, we're going to have a small portion of Halloween candy together, and actually enjoy that. Maybe make it a little bit of a family thing, and then say, right, what's one thing that you all each want? Right, let's have that. We'll put the rest away, and we can maybe come back to that another day as well. That could actually work out quite nicely.
Yeah, because there's two kind of major things there. It's like eating alone, eating fast. It's like and there can be a degree of like guilt and shame tied to that. So if we can, and Ajay, I think actually like to come to you because I know you're doing a course around this at the moment. So yeah. I'd love some of your insights on this.
Yeah, I was just going to say exactly what you just said, that factor often when we are eating alone, we tend to eat quickly because we're conscious of other people watching our food patterns and behaviors. But especially as a family, I want to say that one of the biggest things you can do, you are the leaders, your kids are sponges. They're going to follow everything that you do. So if you can be as open and honest about the approaches you take and show them that you are human, you're not always in bang on your meal plan. You're not always a robot essentially following it to the T. You're showing them that you have a small little element of indulgence, but it doesn't have to go above and beyond. And another tip maybe could be sitting down as a family together at the table and saying, okay, you've got your favorites, I've got my favorites. Perhaps we do a trade, and seeing that approach of whether your kids will be able to, offload some of their favorite candy to you as well to show that, okay, sharing is a good approach towards food. We all kind of like to indulge in food, but I think food is one of the best things to take place when it is shared, when you are sitting down together. It's one of the most communal ways to indulge. And as all South Asians know, right, every occasion evolves around food at the end of the day. So what a better way to do it with an open approach.
Yeah, I really, really like that. Something that actually came to mind about the previous point as well. I know I stole Dee's point, but someone else has come to mind. I know a lot of people, especially in the US, these events kind of actually start like a week before Halloween's due or a week before Thanksgiving is due. A lot of these events actually start. But if you struggle in terms of buying your favorite things to actually dish out, just buy them late as well. Rather than kind of feeling you have to plan weeks in advance. Buy it the day before, you've then got significantly less time. And even if you are going to reach out, at a significantly less period of time to go ahead and actually reach into those things.
I'll do mine tomorrow about 2:00.
More chance of discounts that way.
More chance
all the tricks.
Of it just being absolute crap that's left that I won't want to touch anyway. Okay, so just let's say I paint this hypothetical of like I'm actually after going out and I'm after over consuming sweets and I'm feeling a little bit guilty and my motivation has dipped because I feel like I'm after undoing my week of progress. Where do I go from here? Anybody chime in?
Yeah, for me, it'd be go ahead, Gabby. Go ahead.
Oh, you just go right back to what you were doing before, right? Like one day of a little bit of and that's not like a ticket to go ahead and overindulge, but you just go back to your routine that you were doing before, right? Because the main thing is like you know what to do. You've been doing it, okay? So eliminate the guilt because the guilt can kind of trigger you to go into possibly like a binge or just kind of going off the rails. Take the guilt out of it, accept it. Like, okay, you know what? I had a little bit of a blip here, a little bit of a slip up. Now I'm just going right back to the basics. Always go back to the basics when we start to feel a little out of control. So that's my best advice.
Yeah. And it's one of them things where it's never the one day that throws our progress, it's how we respond to it.
Exactly.
So it's when one day turns into a week, that's when we actually begin to slow down progress. If we have one day and it's like, whether you're at maintenance or you're in a 300-calorie surplus or whatever it is, like you want to be able to zoom out and be like, okay, I'd one bad day in a really solid week. Therefore, that was a solid week. And if we can zoom out and view things like essentially objectively, it's just helpful psychologically. Ajay, what were we going to add there?
I was just going to say the exact same thing. It's something I relate to a lot of my clients. It's not what happens to you, it's what the actions you then take and do about it that make the significant change over the long term. And they both work similarly in both ways. So if we decided that, oh, I've just ate all the candy and it's a whole weekend write-off, that's going to lead into a negative spiral. But then if we decide to flip that, the complete opposite way, we could actually end up in a really positive, strong point, maybe bumping up your steps, having some more movement, hydrating more. They all start to add up over the longer term. So just reflect on what's happened. It's happened. There's nothing we can go back and change about it. But what we can change is the next day. And that's the most important thing to focus on.
Yeah, just to actually highlight, you said it's not a weekend write-off, right? Halloween actually falls on Friday this year. So don't be, if we do indulge a little bit more, saying, you know what, I'm going to start again on Monday, because then you're actually potentially carrying forwards a weekend, like RJ says, and just kind of writing it off. And that doesn't need to be the case at all. You can just simply say, you know what, let me get back to it. And if you actually enjoy how that routine actually makes you feel, you'll actually kind of crave getting back into that as well, to be honest. So yeah, I think just kind of getting straight back on it, not writing off the weekend, but also at the same time, don't ignore what actually happened. I think a lot of the time we can say, okay, just get back to your regular routine. And I'm not saying feel any degree of guilt and things about it at all. But I do think there should be an awareness around that, as opposed to actually ignoring it. Because if this is potentially the first time something like this has cropped up in your journey, if you've just recently got started, or if it's maybe something that has cropped up in the past, it's something that we do want to look towards changing. It's not necessarily innately a negative thing if it happens once in a blue moon, but if it's occurring on a basis that is maybe inhibiting your ability to actually achieve your goals, it's definitely something you want to have awareness around and then actually look towards changing.
Yeah, so it's like you're never going to be starting again. You're starting with experience essentially, and if you can look back on a period of overconsumption and like assess what led to that, you'll find a couple of factors that are at play there, and you'll be like, okay, cool. Well, then like these factors are going to pop up in my day-to-day life over and over again. So I better be able to best manage them and have strategies in place to manage them essentially.
Yeah, definitely. It comes down to ABCs, right?
What does that
again? You're testing me now. Antecedent behavior and then consequence as well. So if you know what the behavior is, what actually led to that, typically, to be honest, it's going to come down to one of a few things normally. Environment's often one of those that we've just discussed. Stress is quite often one of those. And lack of sleep are probably the three most common ones that I see, that actually lead to things that maybe you don't want to be engaging in on a regular basis. That's not necessarily the only three things. There can be a lot more than that. But if we can also kind of have a little look over those categories, I think that's generally a good place to start.
Will you repeat them there again? What was the three things?
So oftentimes it's going to be either environment that's led to a behavior, stress, that could be a whole host of different things, or a lack of sleep.
Cool. Yeah, I agree. I'd also add like organization and pre-planning.
Yeah.
And the timings of meals as well. So if you have that like organization, if you've no idea what you're going to do tomorrow evening, that it just like leaves a lot of stuff up to chance.
Yep.
And then if you go this big extended period where you have lunch at 2 o'clock and then you don't eat anything then until 8 o'clock in that evening, that period of time has led you to be so hungry going into the social event that you will overconsume, or you increase the probability.
Yeah, absolutely. And it comes back to what you said before about if you plan in, you can factor in these sweets into your calories. But again, it all comes back down to planning at the end of the day. And I would say instead of feeling like you need to reserve loads of calories, you'll be surprised that you actually don't need to do that if you just plan it in, just like Dee said there.
Yeah, even jumping in on that, I think a lot of my clients are here that I always say that victory loves preparation. Like if we're able to prepare, like right now it's at least a day before, so we have enough time, or everyone's got enough time to plan for tomorrow. Even planning the window that you're gonna have your sweet little treat that everyone's probably thinking about right now, having that window for it is gonna only lead to at least success. And it's not really about saying success isn't about saying no to every treat. It's just about saying more yes to what your goal is. What is your goal for over the week, and what's your goal for next week? Carrying on, like what can you actually say yes to that aligns with what you want to achieve? I think that makes more sense.
Yeah, I think that's helpful in just the mindset towards fat loss, full stop. Because what's innate to fat loss is restriction. Like it's just innate to it. But on the flip side of that, like what are the other positive outcomes that we achieve from it? And if we can be more fixated on the positive outcomes that we're going to achieve, as opposed to the degree of sacrifice, the degree of restriction, the fact that we have to have more control over things, if we can shift towards all of the positives we're going to gain from this, you just end up not resenting fat loss, because that can happen as well. Yeah. Okay. Well, other than that, any kind of final tips there? But there was a couple of questions for us to have a bit of a chat about. Anything else on the kind of Halloween side of things to add?
I would say, Halloween, whilst it's like such a fun holiday to celebrate, it is really about the kids. It really is about, that experience and making it special for them. So, I know it's so easy as a parent, like my parents used to say, oh, I need to test the candy to make sure it's not poisonous. But, it's just kind of teaching a generational habit of, we don't need this much candy because it's just a lot of overindulgence. It's, these kids are coming back with bucket. I mean, and kids get attached to it, right? They earned that candy. But, kind of touching on something Ajay said was like, the idea of sharing. Maybe sit down with your kids and be like, okay, let's pick like 15, 20 pieces of candy that we do like. And you can kind of, maybe put them in with the kids' lunch because, I know that's something a lot of children do. They have it with their food for lunch and whatnot, or maybe for dessert, and say, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to give back to the community, and we'll take the rest of this candy and we're going to bring it to, a food bank, or donate it to someone who needs it more than we do, which is just a great lesson for the kids in general. And it eliminates the factor of having that much candy in the house for us to go indulge and snack on.
Gabs, I've got a question for you as well. What was your favorite Halloween fancy dress that you've done over the years?
I knew you were gonna ask this.
It's a banana, isn't it?
Yeah, I was not one of those kids that, dressed up like a princess, really. I always wanted to do something a little crazy. So I went through a phase where each Halloween I was like a different kind of food. One year it was actually French fries. But I sent a picture in our team group chat recently of my year as the banana. So that was nice. And I kept that costume for a long time until I just realized, what, it needs to see its time, and I gave it to my younger cousin. So it was passed down through the family. He started to be the banana. So
I had to mention it.
Sorry, have you seen the thing on Instagram of the guy dressed up as an ostrich, where he has the black bin bag over his head and he has his hand out? His hand is like this. So good. You've seen it, Cabs, have you?
I have no idea what you're talking about, but I need to see it now.
It's funny. It's funny. Anyway, there was a couple of questions for us to just run through quickly. So one common thing that pops up in check-ins is just the frequency in which we change training program, and just a little bit of justification for why that is the case. Sam, give me a couple of your thoughts there.
Yeah, it's more comes down to, so we always bang on about progressive overload and being able to progress within training. Not changing up a program too frequently comes down to the measurability of that program, essentially. Can you change exercises and still get stronger and still see muscle growth? Yes, absolutely. Does it make it harder to track if we're truly seeing that? Again, yes, absolutely. If I'm doing a leg press for 12 weeks, and over those 12 weeks, I go from 100 pounds for 12 reps to 150 pounds for 12 reps, I know for a fact that I've got stronger, right? If I do 4 weeks of a leg press where maybe I go up by 10 pounds, and then I do 4 weeks of a squat and I go up by maybe 10 pounds, I'm consistently having to relearn movement patterns at the same time. So it more comes down to that measurability of things, and being able to really progress something for the long term.
Yeah. And even like finding the correct weights to use. It takes
Yeah,
like 4 weeks in a
exactly.
program to find the correct weights to use. And then it's if you're consistently chopping and changing things, you go through this period of like your first 3 weeks on a program is purely about skill acquisition. It's just about getting that movement pattern nailed down. So if you're chopping and changing things every 4 or 6 weeks, like you never get the chance to like truly progress. It's that period about from, let's say, like 4 weeks on a program through to like 16 weeks on a program. That's where like the real progress is made. So like for example, myself, like I've been following the exact same program for like the last 9 months. And like I suppose there's no boredom popping up because I find the enjoyment of training in me progressing and getting stronger. Like that should be enough to be like, okay, I'm still excited about training. And you know that little bit of anxiety that you get when weights are heavy, and then you overcome the fact that weights are heavy and you hit another PB. Like that is really where the enjoyment of training comes from. Like it shouldn't be the case that training is like fun and exciting and like you jump into like an F45 class and God knows what you're going to be doing. And it's going to be great crack. It's going to be great fun. It's awesome exercise, sure. But if you're trying to like really kind of optimize things, then being able to follow a structured program for as long as possible. So yeah, like getting mentally tapped out of a program is relevant. Like sometimes you do get like exhausted, but generally you only get exhausted of a couple of exercises. You get exhausted of like and watch what it is as well. It'll be like your Bulgarian
split squat. So I was just about to say
it will be the toughest exercises, and arguably the ones that are the most beneficial as well. So it can actually be, I'm getting tapped out of this one because like things are starting to become really difficult. Therefore, this is the most beneficial thing for me to be doing right now.
Yeah.
Ajay, Gabs, David.
I was just going to say there's no perfect program apart from the one that you can follow consistently and continue to make progress over time.
Cool.
Well said.
Another kind of common one that pops up is just around managing work events. Again, because with work events, you kind of sometimes these things are forced on you. Like there's food and drink consumption that's forced on you, and it's always a difficult one to manage, full stop. But we still need to be able to do something. So, Gabs, Ajay, anything in particular pop up?
Yeah, so for me, it depends how often as well. I like to take each one as a learning point as well. So what can we do on this work trip or this work event in comparison to last one that's going to be an improvement? Let's say maybe it's drinking. If last time we maybe had 5 drinks, can we cut it down to 4? Or this time, can we at least have water in between just to stay hydrated as well? Let's see a different approach in terms of how we handle nutrition from the last time to this time as well. Always looking, especially if you're in a fat loss stage and you're looking at your 1 plate rule, seeing what's on the plate. Usually I'd like to get a picture of it as well, just to see how good that 1 plate rule actually went as well. To make sure that, and then even planning ahead of time. Seeing what restaurant you're going to, maybe send over the menu to your coach as well, and then plan out the whole day. So there's different approaches that you can obviously come to work event. I always like to see, okay, if you've got a lot coming up, how can we improve from the last one to this one now?
Yeah, I think David nailed it completely. I think planning is the key to everything ahead of time, and every occasion is a learning occasion. So you've gone through one, you want to reflect, look at what went well, what didn't go well, how will you execute better next time? And that's the best way you can go with the whole approach going forward.
And like, even though there can be a lack of control on it, like if there is like, let's say there's a set menu or there's a set like drinks that are being handled out, there is still a degree of control in that. Like maybe it is the case that you don't need to finish your entire meal, like little things like that. And I do understand that this is a bit extreme, but also like you have to be able to choose your battle essentially of like, okay, am I okay at being at maintenance for these couple of days? And if I've got events popping up 3-4 times a week, then very quickly I'm not in a deficit on average. So okay, maybe I need to be better allow myself at just not fully finishing meals, or maybe I need to make sure that when things are served to me, I ask, can I have an extra bolus of protein and an extra serving of veggies? And then I've got this big plate and I'm going to leave a little bit of the carbohydrates and fats, let's say. So something like that. Alcohol wise, can I like limit it to one drink? Can I opt for a 0-0? Can I get a diet drink instead? Can I drive so I have to drive home? Like little things like that. Like even when we think about the events that we have in person, like I've had periods where like I've been dieting, and like with that, like it can be difficult to have that kind of meal out. But there's still things that you can control in what foods that you select, whether you have it a starter, whether you have it like sides. Like the way you organize things can still allow you to be in a deficit, whether you control your nutrition going into the event as well. But there is a degree of control that is baked in.
Just to add on to that, I think Ajay, you'd be able to share some nice insights on the drinking side of things as well. I saw you smiling and nodding along, and I know you went through a period of kind of your mate saying, "Come on, let's have a few more drinks," things like that, but you were not really wanting to. So I think it'd be nice to share your experiences on that side of things as well.
Yeah, sure. So I used to drink alcohol. I no longer do. Not because I had an issue or anything like that. It just didn't serve me anymore. And D touch on like the 0-0s. They perfectly suit me really well nowadays. And I also think often alcohol can seem like a pressure sort of thing to, join in with. And one thing I often say, if I say, for example, maybe you like drinking, gin and a tonic, it's a clear spirit. Nobody kind of really knows what is inside of that drink. It'll look the same as everyone else's drinks. And before you know it, your next drink then just could be, a club soda. But nobody else would really realize that you are actually not having alcohol anymore. I've had an occasion before when I was drinking alcohol and I just felt like not actually drinking that much that night. And I had a lemonade, and a guy was like, "Oh, let me taste your drink." He's already kind of had quite a few alcoholic beverages, and he's like, "That's quite strong." I was like, "Interesting." Actually, no alcohol in there at all. So it just goes to show often a lot of people, it's more of a social thing, and you'll be surprised no one really judges you for it, and no one actually pays that much attention to it either.
Okay, and then just one last quick one that has like popped up for me this week is in the use of CGM, a continuous glucose monitor, and whether it has any utility. And the overarching answer is no. Like, I'm sure there is like niche scenarios where it can be helpful to use. It's more so like the most useful thing to use it for is more so in assessment. But like continuously monitoring your glucose after consuming a meal and watching like the peak and trough in glucose does not give us an indicator of like whether our body is really metabolizing glucose too well. That statement actually is not true. 1 second. Essentially, what we care about is not only the rise in our glucose, but how our body metabolizes that after. So what we're looking at is like that postprandial or post-consumption. So it's completely normal for after you consuming carbohydrates that your glucose will jump up. That is to be expected. What we really care about is what happens in the periods after. So in that 2-hour window after consuming a meal, does your glucose come back down to normal? And that's like you measuring a big jump up in your glucose is not going to give you like an insight into your glucose management. But if you were to do like an OGTT or an oral glucose tolerance test, which for somebody who's getting diagnosed for diabetes is one of the tests that they do. And what we're essentially assessing is, can you pull your glucose back down to normal? So wearing a CGM, it's honestly doesn't really have much utility unless it's like prescribed because you have diabetes and a dietitian is doing some degree of an assessment on you. Then yeah, I can get on board with that 100%. But no, they're not something that we need to worry about for fat loss. Another thing that we'll say is like, well, if my glucose is high, then insulin is high, therefore I'm inhibiting lipolysis, which is all like technically true, but it isn't the case that it's going to supersede just your overall energy balance and you being in a calorie deficit. So like having high insulin or having high blood glucose actually doesn't affect your ability to lose body fat or body weight. But other than that, nothing else in particular popping up, guys. If you have any more questions, please do drop them in the chat. But that is us for today. Thank you all for coming as always, and hopefully we have an absolutely lovely Halloween.